Cool. So can you see my slides?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Cool. So, hi everyone. Yeah, happy New Year. So just a kind of quick overview of some of the things I was doing last term, in case there's anything useful in here that you might want to pick. So just a bit of context, I was teaching a level 4 module 4 times 8 hours a week, around 40 students. Half of them were undergraduates and half were MSc students. And generally the philosophy I was using was to use pre-recorded videos to cover the essential theory. And then I was using my live sessions as examples classes and responding to students' questions. So a number of tools that I kind of used. One was Piazza, following on from what Thomas was saying. So this was an alternative that I was using, which didn't require any installation because it's just all web-based. But other than that, I think pretty much has the same sort of things as Thomas was saying for discourse. So one feature I think probably was helpful is students can post on it anonymously, which helps to kind of get them to post questions without being scared of somebody thinking they're asking a silly question. But as the instructor, you can see the questions, you can see the names, so you can monitor who's posting what. I find it quite helpful that you can organize all the questions by folders. Obviously it supports LaTeX, which is useful. And I did see better engagement than using Moodle forums, which is what we've used in the past. Having said all that, I didn't use Piazza during live sessions. We were teaching using Teams, and I just used the live chat feature for that. Another feature that I quite liked is if students did post a question or post an answer, you can endorse it and say that's a good question, good answer. So yeah, thanks to my colleague Tom Wicks for pointing me in the direction of Piazza. When I was doing in-class polling, then I would, the platform I was using was Pingo, which is another kind of polling system. Again, I would generally ask 2, 3, 4, 5 questions at the beginning of a live session, just to kind of check that they'd watched the videos and kind of digested the key important things. I think probably the most useful times was when the students got the questions wrong, because it highlighted when they didn't understand something, and then we could go off and talk about that, and then come back and re-poll them and check they've got the right answer. So that was quite useful, and I think probably just added an interactive element to live classes that you wouldn't get otherwise. It has fairly limited capabilities in terms of just multiple choice questions or text-based answers, but it met my needs. The other things, as a statistician, I'm quite familiar with using R, so I generated some R Shiny apps, which I felt quite useful. So previously, obviously, in lecture notes, when you're in old school paper, you can just have static graphs, which you can print out, which is great. But if we're doing everything on the web, then you can now have interactive graphs where you can move things around, and students can play around with them and try different parameter settings, for example. So I wrote a number of R Shiny apps to support the module, and students could play around with those, and again, just add an extra kind of interactive element to what was going on. And also had regular weekly homeworks, and I think students do like the kind of routines of having a standard format. So obviously there are lots of packages out there, lots of platforms for doing this. My university is a bit behind the times, so we don't have anything like Stack or Numbers, which is a shame. So again, I used R Shiny to write my own, not particularly sophisticated things, but just web pages where students could, which would randomly generate questions with random numbers in, and then students could work out the answer and type it in, and it would tell if it was right or not to a sufficient number of decimal places. I did play around with using Learn R package in R, but I didn't quite have the flexibility that I was looking for. My colleague Simon Preston's pointed me in the direction of the R exam package, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but might be useful in replicating what I was doing. I guess the other kind of key thing just to mention was obviously our VLE's Moodle, and it was really helpful, I think, to just have everything in all in one place and have everything clearly set out in terms of what needs to be done. I mean, this is hopefully fairly self-explanatory, but I think it does make a big difference to the students if everything appears to be well organized. And it really makes my life easier and their life easier in the long run. So just some of the feedback I got on my teaching this year, and I guess the key thing to take away is, there's lots of very sophisticated tools out there, lots of different bits of software which you can play around with. But I think the feedback comments just kind of were like, the last one there is just talking about the organization of the module, and if you get everything organized and set out neatly for them to follow, then I think that makes a huge difference. And not to get too distracted by lots of different platforms and things. I know that's probably all I wanted to share. So I'll pass back to Kevin.